now call to order the October 19th, 2020 meeting of the New Caney Independent School District Board of Trustees. Current time 6:02. Let the minutes show a quorum is present with all members in attendance. Please rise with the invocation given by Mr. Nixon. Remain standing for pledge allegiance on the Texas flag, led by Mr. Warwick.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, so I thank you this day. Thank you for everyone in this room. Thank you for each and every individuals who have chosen to be members. Just ask you guys through our decisions, just continue to be with us throughout these challenging times that you're in.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Until the agenda is the delinquent tax report. Mr. Allen, how are you? Good to see you. Appreciate you guys coming to the fair.
How about you? It was a blast.
Yes, I'm glad to appreciate you guys coming. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I still got to string together a deep freezer and a little group to get me a calf or a steer. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly how much meat do I really think me and my 3 girls can consume over a 12-month stretch. So I'm doing the math on that right now. But thank you for having us out again this year, because we love to kind of keep up to speed with y'all. And I know we've kind of, like you guys, COVID-19 had significant impact on our year. Just like you guys were closed down the latter half of the last school year from mid-March on, so were all of our collection activities that were outbounds. Beginning in mid-March, when the COVID-19 crisis hit, the tax office wisely saw what was coming, saw the shutdowns, saw the hurt that our folks in our communities were going to be going through, and they said, all stop. No collection calls, no letters, no lawsuits, no outbound activity. We need to let our folks recover. And we held that position through June 1. 2.5 months with nothing outbound. Then we were able to pick up some phone calls, outbound phone calls, and our first outbound mailing. And on July 1st, after 3.5 months of all stop, we were then able to begin litigation activities once again. So we do share some downtime with you guys as well. But we've got some numbers to show you tonight. You're going to see some impact from the COVID-19 shutdown, as well as some really good news as we're now able to re-engage the same engine that's done such a great job for y'all for several years. And we're seeing some great impact from that. So let's turn to the board report real quick. And I'm not going to do karaoke by numbers. I'm not going to read you all the numbers you're looking at here. But what is important to see is on the first page that's headed Litigation and Delinquent Tax Roll Stats. That's a page that kind of lays out sort of our litigation activity, how many suits have been filed, things along those lines. The litigation activities, they're down because of that all stop period for 3.5 months with no lawsuits. One significant thing that you're going to see on here that's new for this year is down in section 2 for litigation. You'll see a section about Woodridge Forest project for 197 tracts and resale proceeds. That was a block resale of a bunch of lots that just been sitting on the tax trust, not on the tax roll, exempt, earning 0 taxable revenue. And a developer approached our firm and we worked with him and wound up selling all of those lots. I believe that y'all probably dealt with Mr. Jeff McRae, who's here with me tonight, a good bit on that, as well as Julie Docker, who's here joining me tonight. So the good news is that was able to generate a little bit of additional taxable income. Now, turn into the next section on 3 down at the bottom of that page is bankruptcies. We'll see that about 4.5% of our delinquent tax roll is caught up in a bankruptcy, which means we can't touch it, right? Flipping over to the next page, at the top of that next page, we see what's called tax deferrals. Tax deferrals is a situation where someone's over 65 or has a disability or other situations that warrant an all-stop on collection activities for that account. There's about 17% of our delinquent tax roll is also on a deferral. So combining both types of accounts we can't touch, we've got a little over 21% of the roll that cannot be touched for collection activities. So that leads us to wonder, what have we done with the rest? Well, the next section you'll see about mailings. And it kind of gives you all the blow by blow, the mailings we've done, how many letters we've sent out. What may not be apparent is that while we were at that 2.5 to 3 month, 3.5 month all stop, we missed a pair of mailings. And those mailings, those mass letters that go out, that's what generates the vast majority of our payoffs of delinquent tax. So we were missing some of our real key tools. Now, any questions about back numbers before we look forward and look at kind of what's happened in the past 3 months and some good news? All right, so good news. That last section down here about delinquent tax collections, okay? What it shows is that over the past 12-month stretch in our reporting period from July to June of 19 to 20, the collections in that period was down because the tail end of that period was the 2.5 to 3.5 month all stop from the tax office. But since then, and since we've ramped up collections activities once again, we have collected, I've just got the numbers, $806,000. And that number is roughly 2/3 of what we collected in the previous 12 months. So what we're beginning to see, and what I'm hoping to see develop, is I'm hoping to see not a non-payment on things that happened over that all-stop period, but instead some more of those being simple delayed payments that we're now seeing come rolling in. Without a doubt, I would expect to see some more non-payment because of the economic duress folks have dealt with the shutdowns, as well as COVID-19 itself. But the good news is the same engine that's worked hard for y'all is back engaged. Now, moving away from numbers and into graphs, on the next page, we've got the delinquent roll by tax year. It's a pie chart, and here's the important thing it shows us. The last 3 years that are delinquent are 2017, 18, and 19. Those are the 3 big pieces of the pie you're looking at, and they amount to 65% of our delinquent roll. So in other words, the vast majority of the stuff that we're working on right now is fairly current stuff, which means it's more collectible. And we're doing a good job eliminating some of the old backlog by things like these resales and then targeting older accounts. Now, on the last page is where we can kind of see what our engine had done the last 3 years before COVID-19 hit. So if we looked at school years 16 to 17, 17 to 18, and 18 to 19, the 3 school years before COVID-19 hit, what we saw is we saw our delinquent tax roll grow by a little under 6%. However, our levy, of all taxes that we levy, grew by 22.5% roughly. So what that means is we are gaining massive ground when we're able to engage our engine on that backlog. So what happens when you introduce COVID? When you introduce the 4th year, if you look at a 4-year average, over those 4 years, the delinquent tax roll increased by about 18.5%, the levy by 20%. So despite COVID-19, we've still made ground on that backlog. So going forward from here today, we continue to engage that same engine. And we do this with justice and with grace. Any questions?
Good job.
Well,
Appreciate it. Very, you explained it wonderfully. That was a great job.
excellent. Thank you. We love working with you guys, and we'll see you next year.
Appreciate it. Item 3 on the agenda is open forum. We have no one signed up for that. So we're going to move into item 4 on the agenda, which is closed meeting. Board will now meet in closed meeting under authority of Texas Government Code 551.074 for the purpose of personal matters, Government Code 551.071 for attorney consultation, Government Code 551.072 for deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and Government Code 551.076 for deliberation regarding security devices or security audits. Any action as a result of closed session discussion will take place after the board reconvenes. Current time 6:13. Board is closed meeting 6:55. Item 5 on the agenda is reports and proposals from board members. Anybody have anything tonight? We'll move into item 6 on the agenda, superintendent's report.
Off to the most harmless report with Randy.
Okay, I know y'all probably heard mentioned that we're gonna be held harmless, and we talked about being the first 2 6 weeks and the first 12 weeks of this semester. They've actually came out and now said that we will be able to be held harmless for the whole semester. We will have to come back to y'all for another attestation that we have to send to TEA if we want to ask to be held harmless for our ADA council for the third 6 weeks. They're gonna treat the first 2 6 weeks different from the third 6 weeks. So basically how they're doing the first 2 6 weeks is they're taking 17, 18, 18, 19, and 19, 20 ADA, and they're looking at the growth between those and then taking the trend of that. And so whatever we ended last year with, whatever the trend showed, they'll add that percentage back to give us a new ADA number for this current year. 17, 18 was Harvey, so they made some adjustments to ADA. 18, 19 was what it was. And then 19, 20 they adjusted for COVID, and they also adjusted because we got some ESSER money, and they reduced our ADA number by whatever it took to supplement. They used federal funds to supplement their state dollars to us. When I was reading through everything, it looks like what they're going to do is they're going to use the number that was prior to reducing our ADA last year for ESSER. So when I took that, it showed our average to be about 3.37%. So using that number, it makes the ADA for hold harmless $15,396. We budgeted $15,496, so it's still about 100 ADA short. If they go back and use the number that they say we ended the year with after taking ESSER ADA away, it's $15,060. That's a lot, about 500 something, 400 something short of what we budgeted. I did some scenarios based on those ADA numbers, and if they use the ADA for the one that they don't take the ESSER ADA out, it's going to be very close. We'll be able to balance, still have a balanced budget with that. It's going to be very tight. There's not going to be anything additional. And the reason being is because when we finally got the certified values in, we didn't lose as much on protest, so we did pick up a little bit of revenue in tax and the tax collection part because we adopted the budget in August and we didn't get the values till later. So that'll make up some of the loss for the state funding, the 100 that would be short. If it goes the other way, they used prior to taking the ESSER money away, so they took it away, and we get the $15,060. That's short about 1.8 million. But like I said, right now they're not real clear. They just tell you 17, 18, 18, 19, and 19, 20. So it's not real clear if they're going to use the adjusted or what we actually ended at. So that's the 2 scenarios. We are still, we're being very cautious. We're looking at everything, evaluating expenditures and all that just until we get a clearer picture. But we will be coming back to y'all for the attestation for the third 6 weeks. And how they're going to do that one is if the ADA for that third 6 weeks by itself is bigger than your hold harmless ADA, they'll use that one. So if it's smaller, then they'll use the hold harmless ADA. Questions?
So so when will we know when they're gonna?
Well, reading, I
That's
mean,
the $1 million.
yeah, that is, if I do that, I could probably make a whole lot of money.
Maybe spring?
It doesn't say, they just updated the frequently asked questions on October 15th. So that's based off what they gave us on October 15th on how to calculate it. I feel like they'll use the higher number that I gave you, because they do mention in the frequently asked questions to use the July number when they came out with it on the DPE side, and that doesn't have the S or ADA taken out of it. So I feel like they'll use the higher one, but I don't want to sit here and say.
That's the 15,396 we're gonna go with.
Yes. And then I feel like we'll still be okay. The problem is if they don't hold us harmless the rest of the year, and second semester our ADA is really low, it's gonna average into this, and we won't, we'll still, we're gonna be tight. So.
I mean, one of their outs would affect our fund balance. When we put in next-
Right, it will, yes, it would, I mean, if we wound up having to, and if we see something, of course, we're gonna immediately start looking for ways to start saving and, looking at every expenditure and things that we can do. I do have some things that I'm already looking at to try to alleviate some of this. As far as using some of the ESSER money from last year, we don't have to put it all in last year, we can move some of it to this year, and that would kind of help. So we are looking at things currently. But we don't know. I mean, they just came out and said, we're going to give you the third 6 weeks. They can come back and say, okay, we're going to give you the whole year. We just don't know what they're going to do. And we don't know what kids are going to come back second semester or what the ADA is going to look like. So it's basically a crystal ball that we're trying to guess.
So if the spring semester goes off ADA, would it go up to actual students that are
Currently,
on
right?
campus, or would it count the students that are?
No, the students that are still running. Yes, as long as they. Well, as long as they are checking, as they're going to class and they're doing their assignments online, we'll get credit for them. But if they haven't done anything and we don't know about them, then of course enrollment is, will be down. So it's gonna all matter if they're gonna hold us harmless the rest of the year, which we don't know that. Right now they say they're not. And then whether the kids are come back second semester and log in. Questions?
You said there were certified values they gave it to you. Is that on the tax for this year?
That's the ones that y'all, that we talked about last board meeting when y'all adopted the tax rate. Yes, and that was after adopting the budget. Because we only had estimates. And when we did the budget.
Thank you.
Right?
Next, Ms. Schaffner.
Good evening. We wanted to share with you the numbers from our surveys of students whose parents filled out the survey and had a change in their choice for instructional delivery. And so I put a bar graph right in front of you so you can see the trends. It's not the exact numbers, but you can at least see the trends. We had almost 600 students who chose to return on campus, and less than 100, about 60, who chose to go remote. And so we had an increase on campus of about 3.5%. What we're going to do this week, as you know, the end of the 9 weeks was right before the fall break. And so we're going to look at how our kids did, how our remote kids performed, how our on-campus kids performed, and we'll come back to with a report for you in November.
So this was from, they fill out a survey. This is data from actual on-campus attendance, or is this from a survey?
This is actual data for the kids, whether they elected to be remote or on campus. We still allow them to come on campus if they choose to.
So, but the information is based on a survey, or is it actual campus data?
We had to give them an option to do a change of instructional method. So
Okay.
this was based on those changes they requested.
Thank you, Ms. Schaffner. Mr. Batchelder, safety update.
Texas School Safety Center requires that we audit our facilities on a 3-year turnaround. Basically, the ending year is 2020, and our audits are due November 15th. This is just a brief summary that you have in the book that kind of highlights what our process were and the facilities just in general that we audited. There's a lot of moving pieces to it, and I'd be remiss in not thanking basically everybody behind me, because there were several departments that helped with this process, as well as those in the community. You know, we work with the local fire departments, local law enforcement, county emergency management, all as a part of looking at our plan at different times and just putting it under a microscope to make sure that we're putting in the different pieces that it needs to have. Texas School Safety Center has upped their requirements over the last couple of years with regards to Senate Bill 11 and other legislation that's coming about. So with their guidance and the support from the people behind me, we'll continue to progress. And we're also looking to streamline that process for the campus contributions next year by being able to do it through electronic means and app that will allow it to be just an easier process for principals in general to make their contributions for site auditing purposes. Does anybody have any questions for me? Thank you. Thank you.
Item 7 on the agenda is consent calendar, consideration of minutes, consideration of financial report, consideration of purchasing report, consideration of personnel reports, consideration of campus improvement plan, performance objectives, consideration of policy update, EIC global, consideration of 2020-2021 bilingual ESL program evaluation. Are there any other questions? Oh, we will be not taking action on 7F at this time. Are there any other questions or further discussion? Is there a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar except the item 7F? Motion has been moved and seconded. There will be no further discussion. Vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion is approved. Item 8 on the agenda is consideration of voluntary exit incentive agreement with Caney ISD, presented by Mr. Freeman.
Okay, we'd like to present the 2020-21 exit incentive, and that time frame will be January the 4th through February the 26th. It's very similar to what we've had in the past, the same amount of money, $1,000 for those that are years 1 through 10, $2,000 for those that are 11 through 20, over 21 and more. If you've been in the district for 4 consecutive years, there's $5,000. So, like the board to consider approving the voluntary exits.
Any other questions? Further discussion? Is there a motion to approve the voluntary exit incentive agreement for New Caney ISD? Motion has been moved and seconded. There will be no further discussion. A vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye. Motion is approved. Item 9 on the agenda is consideration of the approval for the award of construction contract for the new district technology building project 024-2015 to Gamma Construction Company. Presented by Mr. Coward.
Yes, sir. This is our new technology building on near Monterey Elementary. The current one was part of the sale of the existing Keeper Crossing Building site. So, Mr. Rice and his team placing it.
Any other questions? Further discussion?
Appreciate the summary. I thought it was nice to see it wasn't the lowest bidder here. We have a good reputation with them. We have a good reputation with us.
Absolutely. As always, the price is a big part, but those other factors are heavily considered.
Is there a motion to approve awarding construction contract for the new district Technology Building Project 024-2015 to Gamma Construction. Motion has been moved and seconded. There being no further discussion, the vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. The motion is approved. Might as well stay there. Item 10 on the agenda is consideration of purchase of a parcel of land consisting of 20 acres more or less located near intersection of US 59 and Eagle Drive to be used for future school facilities or other future district needs. Mr. Cowder.
Yes, sir. This is a piece of land we want to get under contract that's immediately north of Eagle Drive, right across the street from the high school. Meet some future needs we see coming out here for the district. But in fact, for approval of that, just mentioning the 11 acres is adjoining to the 20. That is not number 11, so it's 32 acres total. It's just two different ones.
Any other questions or further discussion? Is there a motion to approve the purchase of the parcel of land consisting of 20 acres more or less located near the intersection of US 59 and Eagle Drive to be used for future school facilities or future district needs?
I move to approve the purchase of 20 acres of real property more or less located near the intersection of US 59 and Eagle Drive to be used for future school facilities or other future district needs, and authorize superintendent or its designee to negotiate and execute a final sale and purchase agreement as well as any related necessary amendments, closing documents, and post-closing documents.
Do we have a second? Motion has been moved and seconded. There being no further discussion, the vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is approved. Item 11 on the agenda is the consideration of purchase of the parcel of land consisting of 11 acres more or less located near the intersection of US 59 and Eagle Drive to be used for future school facilities or other future district needs. Mr. Calvin.
Yes, sir. Just the other part of that land we just talked about.
That's it.
So it's 32 acres.
Are there any other questions, further discussion? Is there a motion to purchase? Is there a motion to purchase the parcel of land consisting of 11 acres more or less located near the intersection of US 59 and Eagle Drive to be used for future school facilities or other future district needs?
I move to approve the purchase of 11 acres of real property more or less located near the intersection of US 59 and Eagle Drive to be used for future school facilities or other future district needs, and authorize superintendent or its designee to negotiate and execute a final sale and purchase agreement as well as any related necessary amendments, closing documents, and post-closing documents. Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. There being no further discussion, a vote will be taken. All those in favor say aye. The motion is approved. There being no further business. There being no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 7:12.